flag, United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, turn that up a little bit, please. Sorry. Turn up your microphone a little bit.
There we go. Is that better? Thank you.
Is there a paper here left for me?
All right. So again, welcome everybody. Our first application this evening is application number 24-006. This is Henrietta East Cell Tower, AT&T Central Line Communications for final site plan approval of a 90-foot tall cell tower with a 4-foot tall lightning rod to be located at 230 Pinnacle Road. This would be near the eastern side of the Henrietta Fire District building in an R120 zoned district. Who's here representing the applicant, please?
Good evening. My name is Brenda Blask-Lewis. I'm with Centerline Communications.
Hi, Brenda. Welcome back.
Back, yes. So I'm back here to after a brief respite with the board.
You need to lean in.
Okay.
Thank you
Uh,
so much.
And what we're here for,
Should be right next to it. It's more about getting.
It's more about getting in front of the microphones.
yeah, I see it. There. Okay. Try it again. Okay, I'm with Centerline Communications, and I'm here today to represent AT&T in their proposal to construct a tower, telecommunications tower next to the building owned by the Henrietta Fire District at 230 Pinnacle Road. The proposal is to build a 94-foot tall monopole next to the building, and the supporting equipment will be outside near the tower where the tower's proposed. When we last spoke, we're going to talk to the fire department to see if there was another location on the property where we could move the pole. After looking at different locations and talking with the fire department, we couldn't find another location that would work. There was one spot where they currently have a fuel tank that's near the east corner of the building. As you're coming in around the driveway, kind of close to where the tower was, we were going to maybe relocate the tower to that location, which would give us more room for the setbacks. But that location, we couldn't find another spot for the fuel tank that would work for the fire department. So the fire department told us that there is no other location on the property that they would be agreeable to.
Okay. And then did you look at some other options off-site?
Yes, we did. We looked at 3 church properties to the north, and 2 of them showed some interest. So we had the RF engineer review those locations, and unfortunately, they're too far away from the area that they're trying to provide coverage to, which is closer to Tinker Farms. So those locations won't work.
Did you provide that in writing?
To the board?
Just-
No, but I can.
Please.
I can send you something in writing.
Okay. Anything else, Brenda, or?
That's pretty much what we were doing while we took a break since our last meeting in July, was trying to get some feedback from other property owners. And like I said, 2 of the churches showed some interest. So we did examine those further. We had the RF engineer review them. And from an RF perspective, the locations are too far from the area that they're trying to provide coverage, which is closer to, like I said, Tinker Farms and Calkins Road.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think this board continues to have some concerns about this location. I know we've been batting this back and forth for quite a while now. I'm going to open it up to our board. We do have some, I think some points that we'd like to make to you regarding this project. And Mr. Eckert, I'll be happy to start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
So yeah, some of my initial concerns that I'm looking to see addressed or we can communicate on are ice fall in the tower.
As far as ice falling from the tower to and affecting neighboring properties. I think that the distance is far enough away where the ice wouldn't impact the neighboring properties. It would fall within on the fire department's property. I mean, if it fell anywhere, it's close enough to the fire department building. It would have more of an impact on the fire department than it would on neighboring property.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be looking for a study on something along those lines that would showcase.
I don't think we have a study, but is that something you'd like us to provide?
We'll provide that.
You'll,
Take a look.
you're going to take a look?
I'll have an engineer take a look at the fall zones and the ice fall from
Okay.
a 90-foot tower that would fall 90 feet away. Yep. And if you want to work on your end to prove that there isn't anything, that's fine too.
Okay.
Will you be doing that?
We can look into that.
You'll get back to us, right?
Yes, yep,
On the ice fall, correct?
correct.
I also have a aesthetic question and concern based off of, what we're looking at from the back of the properties.
Correct.
I'd like to see some sort of a, aesthetic view, whether we can, I know that I've seen before on some situations where a crane was utilized to showcase the 90-foot in that space.
You're talking like a balloon float? Balloon flight.
I'm not a big fan of the balloon studies as much as I am what I've seen with the tower crane studies, where a crane can be extended to the 90 feet.
Good evening, Mike Montel, Tocasage Engineering. I'd like to back up just a second, Craig. Relative to the ice fall, we can have the structural engineer who has been providing information relative to the fall zone and all the rest of it, analyze that and get you information on that.
Great.
And as far as the view shed, we can work with you relative to whether it's the balloon fly in the photo simulation versus an actual physical item up to 90 feet.
Yeah.
But
I wasn't sure being a fire department if they had the crane right there, the ladder that they could extend.
yeah, we typically, for telecommunication sites do a balloon fly. We do 2 balloons so that we have visual reference, and then we do the photo simulation of the telecommunications of the monopole plus the antenna array.
Okay.
So, those items are items, standard telecommunications items that we can prepare and provide.
So just to confirm, the applicant's gonna conduct that study and provide it to the board? Correct.
Do we get to choose whether, it's just gonna be the study? Yeah, so I'm gonna request that study's done. I want to take a look at the crane versus a balloon.
So we'll work with the fire department, see if that's something that they can provide.
That'd be great. Those are my concerns, sir, that I've written down and discussed.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Eckert has addressed some of mine. The additional question I had, which I asked the last time we met, has to do with the structural integrity of the tower and that breaking point we've talked about. I know I asked if there's anything that can be show how it would work in the event of, and I don't recall what you said, but we didn't get an answer that yes, we can provide that.
We provided a study. Actually, he can address this.
Hi, Mike Montel, Tocasage Engineering. We did prepare and provide a letter from the structural engineer. There's a little bit of let me clarify. It's not a break point. It's a controlled failure. It's a steel pole, so they're designed not to shear, but they fail in buckling. The pole folds on itself. So they don't design in a weaker point. They have the lower portion, and the upper portion surrounding it is actually increased in strength to facilitate that when there's a failure, the failure mode would be that the tower bends at that point. So it stays connected. They're also, AT&T is going to be providing this as a class 3 tower versus a class 2 tower. So they're increasing the classification of the structural integrity of the monopole that's being provided here on the site. What that does is it takes it from roughly a 1 in 700 year occurrence to a 17,000 year occurrence. It increases wind rates. It's also interesting to note that the studies that have been done on this is that typically the catastrophic failures of towers are related to things like tornadoes and whatever, not high wind and whatever. That typically it's a result of something coming in contact with the tower itself and knocking that over. When you look at the surrounding area, even in terms of trees or whatever, the likelihood of that is very, very low. And the structural engineers have the ability to design all those things. There are structural analysis that get done. There's mount analysis even for how the panels get attached to the tower. All that documentation, should the project move forward, can be provided. And even in terms of, building permitting, all that material would be available for, review, demonstrating that it meets all the applicable building codes relative to that and the classification of tower that's being proposed.
One of the questions I asked was, has that feature been utilized? And the answer was no last time.
No, it's a common feature. We've used it throughout the industry all the time. When tower is being proposed closer to a, property line or setbacks, it's routinely utilized. I've utilized it on projects all the time for telecommunications providers.
Must have been a misunderstanding then, because that is what I asked.
Yeah, no, a controlled failure point is a common practice in the industry.
So is there anywhere you can provide where it has been utilized and what would? the
Yeah,
result
we can provide a list of, like I said, our firm routinely, we've been providing services to the telecommunications industries for over 30 years.
Providing the service and putting up the tower versus that feature actually working in the event of. So
Well,
that's what
catastrophic tower failures are rare.
Well, I
and
couldn't
they're
help but be glued
yep,
to the TV
yep.
thinking of this situation, this project during the last couple hurricanes we had and all the winds and the debris flowing in the air, like you said. And the close proximity and everything. So I would love to see some.
Yeah, we can provide you information, and we're not in a hurricane zone here in Rochester. So, as sensationalized as what's happening in Florida and whatever. Yeah. We've had microbursts and all the rest of it. And we're happy to provide additional information for you on it, even in terms of what the building code requirements are in terms of wind gusts and all the rest of it. All that stuff is being, met and actually exceeded on this site. We have the ability as well as to provide additional analysis above and beyond that and provide documentation that's what would be provided in this case. So, yep, we're very comfortable with the concerns and where the industry is at is relative to the controlled failure point from that standpoint.
Mike, is there any simulations or actual video of a tower falling with this?
I can get with the
point?
structural engineers who've been designing this. I'm not sure that there's video of a controlled failure, but we can certainly look into the structural engineer who's and tower suppliers who've been providing these facilities.
I'd be curious at that because I'm thinking when they were designed, manufactured, they had to be tested. So I'm thinking there is some type of.
Yeah, there's professional licensure and all the, and there's building codes and there's all the rest of it that go into, it's not there's factor of safety. So we're comfortable with your request. We'll reach out to the folks in the industry and circle back with you on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. All set, Mrs. Brill?
Yes, thank you.
Chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Just personally, I don't like it. I rode my bike in the neighborhood and, for a lot of reasons, the neighbors, but I rode every street in that neighborhood back there. And what's really interesting about this is we have a pre-existing 80-foot pole we can use as a rough estimate of what it's going to look like, and that already looks awful. I can see it from every location in that. And this was in the middle of the summer with all the leaves on the trees. So just from an aesthetic standpoint, I don't know how in good conscience I could actually vote for this. That being said, there's other things I have questions with. Some of it is the buckling. But according to the plan here, I'm just estimating here, but it looks like that fuel tank is about 20 feet away from this. Is that right? The fuel tank that's in the parking lot?
What was the question? How?
The fuel tank, how close is that going to be to this tower? Looks like it's about 20 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're not worried about any kind of electrical. I mean, 20 feet's pretty close for an electrical item like this to be in proximity to a fuel tank. I'm sure that there's
No,
the safety items. No
No.
problems with that whatsoever?
no.
Just on the, one, I would like to know where, you said that, you're trying to service further west, correct? Or no, I'm sorry, further east. But you said, but go, yeah, I'm sorry, south, going towards, Calkins, right?
Yes.
So why wouldn't the church work? The church is closer and it's further south than this location is.
The church that's right next to the fire department, we were in lease negotiations with them and then they backed out.
Gotcha. You're talking about the one on the north, not.
Yeah,
but-
we looked at the ones on the north because we had already exhausted the one on the south.
Okay, so Pinnacle Lutheran was
Yep.
kind of in there. Okay.
Yep.
So when you're saying that, I thought we were getting it backwards. I mean, with this thing, if this were to move forward, I mean, what are the options of screening this? I mean, it's too tall to actually do any kind of landscaping. A lot of places have done a lot of tricks with making them look like trees, camouflaged. What are the options there?
Yeah, so there's a couple of options. One is the monopine or whatever option. The other is actually probably painting or different coloration of the array panels. The monopole, the pole itself will not probably be the larger visual obstruction. It's going to be the antenna array. I think what would be probably more practical in this location would be a coloration of the of those panels so that they blend into the sky more than a monopine. There aren't, other tall pine trees in that area. So, it's more likely to stick out, but it is an option. And in the visual analysis, that option can be provided as well to compare and contrast, how that, what that would do. But
Well,
those are the two primary options relative to decreasing the visual appearance of the antenna array.
Well, what I would suggest and what I would like to see, piggybacking on Mr. Eckert, is one, having some kind of scaffolding, whether it's a crane, whether it's a ladder, something like that, that's going up to about 100 feet. Because it's a 92 plus 4, is that correct?
The lightning rod is 4 feet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're call it 96. So if we have some kind of crane at 96 feet, and tied in with that, going and getting in different locations in that neighborhood. And I'm even saying a quarter mile back, because you can see that pole that's currently there. And maybe if you could then take something and superimpose, Photoshop it with some of the options you just said, or camouflage or hiding it. But I would really like to see that before I would vote yes on this, but that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I might suggest maybe speaking with some of the neighbors and get pictures or photos from their backyards, what their perspective is going to be on this when the crane is up there too, if they would grant that permission. But yeah, Mr. Borkowski has a very good point about getting really almost 360 around that whole area just to see what the impact's going to be. And not the north side of the firehouse, but
yeah, we can work with town staff to identify, the locations and number, and to make sure that it's a complete study and meets the requirements.
Yeah, and you know what would be helpful, would be very helpful too, is if we could know a day or two ahead of time when this visual study goes, so that way we can objectively go there and take our own pictures. Or neighbors could, or something.
We can do a notification of when
Yeah,
it's going to
that'd
be
be
done.
very helpful. Thank you.
thank you, Mike. Okay, the chair will recognize Mr. List.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
I too am opposed, but primarily because of these aesthetic visual impacts. I've seen there's a letter from one of the residents with a, you know, a photoshopped cell tower. I don't know if it's gonna look exactly like your cell tower will, but I'm gonna go to his, you know, be in his, have his back and, express my, negativity about this. I think that, you know, I don't know if you've done any home value or, marketability studies as to what happens when you do have a cell tower. And what does it do for your home value? Do you have anything like that you can, show us or prove how it negatively impacts homes?
Generally, we don't do marketability studies to, you know, to know that. But from what I've seen, market values from homes are really impacted that in much by tower. I mean, at least I'm a comedian.
Perhaps you can, you know, expand on that or provide us.
I mean,
with
I don't
something.
even know how we would begin to do that. That would require us to do appraisals of everybody's homes with something that doesn't exist yet. I mean, I can
There are
definitely talk.
probably there are
Yeah, I
probably
mean, we
other-
can discuss it with AT&T, but generally that's not something that they do as part of these projects.
And why 91 feet or 92 feet? Why is it?
That's, you know, the maximum that they need. I mean, they could have, well, that to provide, to achieve the coverage objective to cover Calkins Road, that's the height that they determined is, you know, something that they need to provide coverage. Because like I said, they were trying originally to get to Tinker Farms. That's the location that the town's property that they did look at, and they were going to go in that location, but apparently they ran into issues with SHPO concerns. So, and I know that they looked at multiple projects over the years. And actually the town had kind of steered them towards the fire department. I mean, that's, you know, because I just came into this kind of late in the game. I was negotiating with the church because that's also the location that they had looked at. Same size tower. But they, like I said, they didn't want to proceed. So we looked at the fire department. We looked at several other properties around in the fire department. We negotiated the lease with them. But as far as like a marketability study, like I said, I can definitely, you know, bring it up with AT&T and see what their thoughts are.
Well, I'll echo my associates here and say that maybe you could look at some camouflaging
Yep.
options for this.
Yeah, we'll definitely look at that.
Right.
And, you know, the 90-foot monopole is driven by RF signal in terms of the coverage area and whatever. Typical monopole for multiple carriers would be much taller than this. This is short from a telecommunications standpoint. It's really being intended to meet AT&T's needs. It's the minimum, you know, it's not 160-foot monopole showing, you know, ability to be expanded for 3 other carriers, whatever. So there has been some sensitivity from the start relative to coming in with the minimum that was, you know, needed for a single carrier at this location. And that's how the 90 feet, the 4 feet is the additional 4 feet is the lightning rod requirement. You know, and the antenna array falls below that. And, you know, RF comes to us and says, we need the center of the antennas to be at this height to meet our coverage objective. So that's what drives the tower height.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. List. Chair will recognize Ms. Safranek.
Thank you. I was, you know, now that I don't think I fully understood that you're trying to cover the Calkins Road area. Have you explored some of the other open properties over there, like, you know, Southside Church of Christ or Hillside Children's Center, you know, areas to the south? You've talked quite a bit about the areas right around the fire district there, but I haven't heard you speak about any of the areas maybe further to the south.
I think the further to the south that they get, they wouldn't be able to provide coverage. Right, where they are at the fire department, they have a vantage point of covering down to Calkins Road and including the Tinker Farm area. I think they're too far south because I was looking at properties down there that they can't provide coverage to the area where they currently are up towards the Lutheran Church.
Yeah, Southside Church of Christ is on Calkins Road right across from Tinker Farm. But there are a couple of other large areas with, larger parking lots and that sort of thing as well on Calkins Road. Seems like maybe a large empty parking lot might be a useful use of empty space in this day and age where large parking lots are not so used. In terms of the break point, I think you had mentioned it was controlled failure fracture. How long have those been utilized? You said that those were fairly commonly used at this point. How long has that been common?
The entire time that I've been working in the telecommunications industry, for the last 30 years, a controlled failure point on a monopole has been a practice that's been utilized.
Okay, great. And you said that the failure of these large monopoles is very rare, but do you have a sense as to how often failures happen? Do they happen on a yearly basis?
In this region, I have not had a monopole fail. The tower failures that I'm aware of have been guide towers, and they typically have been a result of an error or whatever. There was one at Bristol Mountain a few years ago where a bulldozer operator caught one of the guy wires on a guide tower. And that pulled, the failure of the one guy wire pulled the tower down. So, I'm not familiar with, none of the projects I've been involved with have come back and been, we've had a failure of the tower. The towers are regularly inspected. They have to be upgraded. There's structural analysis that has to be done even when the carriers go to change antennas. There are what they call drop-in swaps where towers have been removed and, a new tower has been put back up to, due to increased loads or whatever from, antenna changes, whatever. So I have not experienced a tower failure.
Okay, great. And you said there was a guide wire on the Bristol Mountain one. Is there going to be any guide wires?
No, this is a monopole. This is kind of like a telephone pole, a light pole, whatever. So,
Okay, great. And I'd say, again, I think the biggest concern is the same concern as the rest of my colleagues up here is the aesthetics. I think without having some sort of photos or, something that's generated to see what it would look like from the perspective of these properties, I would be very hesitant to take action on this.
understandable. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Mike, I just questioned, so this is going to be strictly for AT&T. Are you aware of gaps with T-Mobile and Verizon in this area too? I mean, why wouldn't you be able to maybe co-locate where they might be if they're not having these issues as well? I'm just asking.
Well, T-Mobile is newer to the, newer to the market. As far as Verizon goes, our firm does work for them as well. I believe they have decent coverage, but you also have Verizon that's going to be before you when we're done here, so that they can address their their network. We do try, the industry does try to co-locate where necessary. AT&T, has typically less towers than Verizon does. Verizon has a much larger presence in the region than AT&T does. So their, AT&T's towers tend to be, the locations that are necessary. tend to be a little bit more critical in terms of filling their gap because they don't have as many facilities within the network as Verizon does.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Question?
Yes, Mrs. Brill?
One of the things I asked early on was, the health risk of having homes or living so close to cell towers. Can you refresh my memory what your answer was to the RF frequency being given up? I understand it's non-ionizing radiation, but I'd like to understand from your perspective.
Each tower that goes up and the equipment is all regulated, heavily regulated by the FCC. So AT&T would build, whatever they build is within the parameters of the FCC guidelines. So the amount of RF signal or RF, the RF that would be emitted from this tower would be minimal, based on, just from, like I said, FCC regulations. They never exceed those regulations.
Curious to see what those are, because I can't help but continue to read all these studies. American Academy of Pediatrics, Balmori 2022 study. I'm calling it the microwave syndrome. There's so many, the health impact of 5G in Europe. There's just so many articles I keep reading about it. If it was out in the middle of a field, farm field, the middle of the woods at Tinker, and then we made it look like the surrounding trees, but being so close, I can't help but continue to read. And I understand the FCC regulations, but in proximity to what, I wonder?
I mean, we can request an RF study to give you an idea of how much would be transmitted from this tower in this location, if that would help.
I think that would be imperative.
Okay. Yep.
You're welcome. Any comments, Mr. Martin, from engineering at all?
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Well, I think, this board is looking for a lot of additional information that you seem willing and able to provide to us. I think at this point, we'd like to maybe discuss pulling the shot clock again, pushing this out a little bit to give us all time to you present it to us to digest it and go from there. Is that something you'd be amenable to doing?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure that any neighbors have an opportunity maybe to speak as well and share their insights so that if they need to come back with anything.
Well, this isn't a public hearing.
Okay.
It's a workshop for us. So I would say tonight, probably no. Certainly we've read the emails and things that you've sent to us, but this is not the forum for that this evening. But thank you for the suggestion.
And to reiterate that, what the chairman, I believe, is proposing is put this on pause for a little bit. So you as neighbors, that gives you more time if you come up with other issues. It can't be said in here because it's not a public forum. However, we do get the emails. We all read them. So just so you're aware, you can still get a hold of us by doing it that way.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
I
Brown.
believe we have an open discussion forum at the end of the meeting that anybody can speak on any open item. But that would be at the end, not during a public hearing.
Okay, that's fine.
Understanding that that's correct. We have an open discussion. Okay.
I think Mrs. Brown was thinking this was a public hearing. It is not. It was just a
Okay, so that's the
miscommunication.
Town board.
And forgive me, I did mean for the presenters that were representing, not the entire, but I do appreciate everybody filling it out, but it was more to have the individuals that are speaking on behalf of the planning board agenda documents, so that we knew who was speaking and presenting.
And I'm sorry, I was incorrect. The open discussion is a
Okay.
town board function, not a planning board.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert.
To be clear, as far as tolling, what are we specifically agreeing to? We're going to start the tolling today?
Correct.
And when are we going to end the tolling?
That I'll talk with AT&T about because some of this stuff, to schedule like a crane and, a balloon float or something, that could take some time. So we might be looking at maybe December.
Can we preliminarily agree that it will toll through up until our December meeting, and then if we need further time?
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Okay, so for now, we're agreeing to toll from today through the date of our December meeting, which is when? Does anyone know?
First.
I've got it as December 17th.
17.
Tuesday.
Sorry.
So to be clear, we agree to toll from, the planning board agrees to toll with the applicant from today through December 17th with the potential to extend further if needed.
That works. Thank you.
So can I make a formal motion to table this application?
Yes, Ms. Borkowski.
So we've already agreed on the toll until December 17th, which is pause on the shot clock. We want documentation on what alternative locations were researched and why they wouldn't work. We are going to probably from both sides do an ice fall study. And a big one is we would like mock-ups of the crane or ladder or something that's similar to an actual pole at its true height. And superimpose like a similar tower, maybe on a different vantage points around the neighborhood. And also maybe with a mock-up of the camo or the painted tower, like how you would try to hide it.
Okay. Mhm.
Am I missing anything?
I don't believe so.
I think we were looking for a simulation on the collapse too, if they could get something, or.
Yeah, I thought they said they actually got it to us. didn't
Okay. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
But did they know they were going to provide additional information relative to the structural engineering?
Yes.
And the safety of it?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Okay, so Mr. Borkowski has the motion. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Liss?
Yeah.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and we've got a tabled application. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're
Have a good night.
welcome. Okay, next item on the agenda this evening, application number 24-00011. I'm sorry, application 24-011. Verizon Wireless co-location at 3144 Winton Road South for final site plan approval for the installation of a Verizon wireless antenna facility on an existing telecommunications tower located at 3144 Winton Road South in an industrial zoned district. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jared Lusk with the law firm of Nixon Peabody, representing Verizon Wireless. This project is a little different than the prior project. Is we are co-locating on an existing tower that currently exists in the rear of 3144 South Winton Road. Verizon is proposing to install an antenna set at on the existing tower. We've provided the construction drawings to provide you with the exact details. Again, within the existing compound, the tower, and I had it memorized, and then I've just listened to the last presentation, and let's see here, that the antenna center line here is going to be 85 feet, which is again below the existing antenna array owned by AT&T. Relatively straightforward. Our equipment's going in the existing compound. Not a lot of, we are in receipt of the comments regarding the surety bond, et cetera. And if the board wants to set that amount, so we understand how much the bond has to be, we're happy to fully comply with that.
Okay, very good. Chris, is that something you typically work with the applicant on, correct? Bless you.
Yeah, Chris Martin, Director of Engineering and Planning. Yeah, that's something that we'll typically work with you after the after the meeting.
Yeah, so like we'll provide a removal estimate from an
Right, and then
engineer.
we'll review it and then approve the amount.
Perfect. And that makes good sense.
Very good. Well, thank you, Jared. Chair will recognize Mr. Franek.
I have no questions.
Very good. Thank you. Chair will recognize Mr. Liss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Borkowski.
is this is the antithesis of what we just talked about. I don't have any issues with this because it's a pre-existing pole.
Thank you very much. Chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
Thank you. Exact same thing. It is existing. Appreciate the opportunity to comment, but I have nothing at this time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Eckert?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question. The existing tower is on the very far east of this property, right?
Yes,
Okay, and so this is the second row down?
second
So
antenna
the
right down.
existing is already the first row. This is the
Correct.
second row, and you're at 85 at the second?
Correct.
And these are standard RF. You've got, I didn't see a mock-up and I didn't see a structural report from our engineer.
Give me 1 second. The engineer, that's tab G of the application, is a structural drawing that indicates that the tower has structural capacity to construct the tower. And then tab J was the RF report indicating that the project complies with the federal requirements for
Yeah,
RF emissions.
and so that's what I was looking through, but I couldn't find the configuration of the fixtures on the pole.
That would be in the plans, the project plans. I can give you the exact sheet in just a second. Sheet CC 200, I can approach, I can show it to you.
Is that it on the,
Oh, it's on the screen.
Okay, yeah, so you're looking at a 3-arm, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that in the packet. Got to be here. I must have scanned by it too quick. And so that's what was studied in the engineering report.
Correct.
Okay, that the additions, that additional infrastructure on the pole.
Yes, from the structural and as well as the RF emissions issue.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the emissions. I was just looking for the actual configuration. Sometimes the analysis, the structural analysis doesn't match the equipment. That's what I was just trying to also
Oh,
double
no.
check.
That's
And that's what I wasn't able to come across, albeit I didn't spend 2 hours. I spent.
that
45
information is listed on pages 3, 4, and 5 of the structural report.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't find couldn't find that with this, couldn't find the listing, the equipment list in comparison to the site plan on the structural analysis.
The equipment is listed, I believe, on the next page of the site plans, and then there you go. Right there, and then if you go to the structural report, that equipment is
Yeah,
listed on the
I've got
structure.
that table in page 173 of the packet. That's the co-location application. That's what I was trying to find. Can you point me to that? And I apologize.
Can I
Point me to
approach?
that in the structural analysis?
Can I,
The plan said.
No, in the structural analysis.
can I approach?
Please. Yeah, I'm sorry. That okay with everyone?
Yes.
Yep. That's all right. Yep. Three
Samsung.
6 comps. Yeah, okay, so that matches that. Okay, great. That's what I was not able to just do on my own, so that answers my question, Mr. Chairman.
okay,
Thank
very
you.
good, Mr. Eckert. Mr. Martin, anything from engineering?
None whatsoever, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to pass application number 24011,
Thank-
Verizon Wireless Co-location.
Thank you, Mr. List. May I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Did-
Is
Mr.
that
Franny?
pursuant to a written resolution?
Walter, yes, you want to make it pursuant to the resolution?
Yes,
Motion,
pursuant
yes.
to the resolution. Yes, thank you.
Did you have a question?
Is seeker incorporated in that?
It will be in
In
resolution.
the resolution.
In the resolution.
The resolution addresses seeker. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'm assuming the engineer has the EAF forms prepared for the board.
You know
correct?
what? He does. That the chairman can sign after the meeting if he so desires.
Very good. Okay, discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you very much, Jared.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. I'll wait just a moment for the board members to return. Good, okay.
Jeez. Too bad it's not to the south. I'm sorry? Wait.
Mr. Franek, you have the second, yep. And Luke, thank you for doing this tonight. Yes, I do, yes, yep.
Okay, you two, you were here right after me this morning.
Sorry. I just scanned on my email.
Thank you, okay. I'll tell you afterwards, yeah, it's nothing bad. Yeah. Okay. Next item on the agenda this evening is application number 24-012, Unither Manufacturing LLC. This is for a building addition. Final site plan approval of a two-story, 43,788 square foot addition to the southwest corner of the existing building on 36.78 acres located at 755 Jefferson Road in an industrial zoned district. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is John Tunningley, representing Hickson Architecture, Interiors and Engineering, the architect and engineer of record on the project.
Can you talk a little closer to that mic?
Yes, not a problem. Sorry. John Tunningley, representing Hickson Architecture, Engineering and Interiors.
Thank you, John.
So the project entails, as you mentioned, in addition to the rear of the facility currently at 755 Jefferson Boulevard, we are redoing some of the truck traffic patterns for the site as well to help facilitate better traffic flow through the site, as well as to ensure that there is adequate fire lane access. And we are removing a portion of unutilized parking in the southern corner of the site to return some of the impervious area to the site.
And this is additional manufacturing space.
Yes, primarily the first floor would be utilized for manufacturing and storage. It is a two-story addition. The second story would be utilized at a future state for additional laboratory space as well as offices.
And how many employees might be working in this new addition?
So the total employee count we have for the Unither facility when it is completely up and running, including the office and the lab space, was listed at the top of the page here. Expected 310 day shift, 190 second shift for a total of 500 employees.
Great. All right. Well, we'll pull the board. Begin, Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interior building with interior, thoroughfares and everything else. I guess some of my questions stem from Not sure if I'm reading the plans correctly, the existing entrance off of Strassenberg is remaining?
Yes, so the existing entrance off of Strassenberg would be remaining. That would be for regular day-to-day vehicular traffic. So for people working there, in an effort to further separate the truck traffic that would be coming in and out of the facility, we would have the new drive that passes along the edge of the property line there as an exit only for the truck traffic, again, for safety concerns with having combined truck and pedestrian vehicular access. They would still be coming in off of Clay Road, which off of the existing entrance there. We are making some modifications to that entry. It would then be a one-way entry for the truck traffic off of Clay Road that would pass along the east side of the building, go to the south where there would be the new existing dock spaces, and then continue on out of the south side of the property.
Okay, has the new entrance been reviewed by the highway superintendent?
Plans were in to, we haven't received any comments.
Okay. That's something I believe that we can agree upon.
Yeah, I'm sure that we can review the plans with him to see if he does have any comments. I think in my comments, I believe I spoke that they have to get a highway work permit from the DPW.
Then the existing parking lot between the existing and the proposed entrance or exit, excuse me, the existing entrance exit and the proposed exit, that's going to be removed.
Yes, that existing parking lot at the south side of the facility.
That parking lot.
Correct.
And the other comment that I had is there's just a bio. What's is there a GI feature going in?
A bioretention basin,
Bioswale, I'm sorry.
bioswale, yeah.
That's going in now. That's to the west of the new proposed exit.
Yes, in that existing parking area that is there today.
The bio is just because of the new building infrastructure.
Yes, and
Even-
I'll invite our civil engineer here to speak a little bit more technically
Removing
about
an
it.
acre of parking lot.
Yeah, so Matthew Helmer, also with Hickson Architects and Engineers, do the site design for this. The bioswale is for the water quality requirements for state of New York and for Henrietta and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
Practice.
yep.
But you're
Mhm.
removing over an acre. It seems like quite a bit of parking lot.
Correct, but with the added impervious of the building addition and what, for the pavement that we are putting in, we want to, yep.
All that grass back and I don't get confused. I'm not sure the GA is going to work underneath the parking lot. That's been a parking lot for, I don't know, as long as I've been around.
The profile of it has, what we're using for filter for sand, rock, gravel and so forth. And that's all in the,
Looking
but,
to infiltrate.
yeah. Mhm.
But it's been a compacted parking lot for a couple decades.
Correct.
I guess that's an engineering concept. It's just something as I'm an engineer by background, that kind of quirky me a little interest. So. But other than that, it's an existing site, it's good use of existing space and everything's in and out the same. The proposed egress is a highway component being in town road. So. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ecker. And John, I usually ask this in advance. I forgot today, so pardon me, but you received Mr. Martin's comments and all the other comments, right?
Yeah,
Do you have any
yes.
concerns or questions meeting any
At
of
this
those?
point in time, nothing that stands out as particular concern. I think we can comply with all of the comments that have been listed.
Okay, very good. And would that include those from the Conservation Board suggesting additional trees? You're
Yes.
Comfortable with that?
Yeah,
Okay,
we have already started to update the plans. We have not resubmitted them because we wanted to wait for this
Yep.
meeting to incorporate everything at once,
Yep.
but we have already started to incorporate
very
those
good.
elements into the plans.
excellent. Thank you. Chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Excuse me.
I hope that the development of this doesn't cause Rochester to grow as much as it indicates in the elevation. Kind of a joke, but I had to say it, because look at that. The Rochester.
Quite the skyline, yeah.
And I have nothing. Everything was addressed that I had written down, so thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brill. Chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Everything looks good to me, and anytime you're working on improving traffic patterns, especially in this little area, I'm a big fan of it, so I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Chair will recognize Mr. List.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only question I have is what does Unither do?
What don't they do?
I'll let them
No, I
talk to
mean,
that a little
I
bit
mentioned
more.
all the time. I have no
Pharmaceutical
problem with
manufacturing
the
is,
project. I was just curious about what Unither.
Good evening, gentlemen. Board, I'm Julian Said. I'm the general manager of Uniter Manufacturing LLC. We are a contract and development manufacturing organizations. We make pharmaceutical product for pharma companies, majority sterile product for eye drops. That's what we're manufacturing to treat dry eyes, glaucoma, and any other products. And soon, hopefully, some product to remove what we put on our glasses every day for presbyopia and myopia. So that's what we're doing.
That's what and how many people do you employ there in our Rochester?
So
location?
as of right now, 310 people, and we're wishing to hire 180 more people to reach the number we provided earlier.
Terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I had.
And can we get your name again? I'm sorry.
Yes. Julian Said, SEID.
Julian.
Yes. I know it's French.
That's okay. And your last name, please? Do you have a business card?
SEID.
Have you got a business card?
Yes, I do.
That'll be fine. Yeah, we'll just take that. Thanks, Julian.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep, you're welcome. Mr. Lees, all set?
Yes. all set.
Okay,
Thank
Chair
you.
will recognize Mr. Franek.
I don't have any questions. I am looking forward to the improvements that are going in here. I think those are positives for the community and for your business.
Thank you very much. Mr. Martin.
I have no comments as well, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Eckert?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have another question. It's offset to the application, but I remember when the 755 Jefferson Road project came in, the new facade on the north side, that I believe it's the R&D building, there's a building on the west side that was supposed to be removed. That never happened. As part of that project. Anybody familiar with that?
I can talk to that. This project has been put on hold by the deal we had with the new owner of the front building of 755 Jefferson, which is Flom. And this is still part of the long-term plan to remove that building once we create and finalize the building we have in the back.
So that's still on the.
Yes,
Still
it's still part of the long-term plan. Yes.
part of it. So if this building goes in and gets built, will that other building come down?
Yes, not immediately after, but yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's part of the plan to remove completely this part of the building and get access to it.
That's not tying into this application.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no.
Want to get an update, so I appreciate the update.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, very good. Now the chair will entertain a motion.
I will make a motion
Mrs. Brill, thank
And
you.
I'll second it.
For the
for the, whatever we're calling it.
resolution, thank you. And Mr. Borkowski has a second, right?
Yes.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
And for the record, the chair just wants to recognize Town Councilman Mr. Barley with us this evening. Thank you for coming. It's always good to see you. Yes, of course. Yeah. All right, last item on the agenda this evening is a discussion item. It's from Dave and Buster's. We are to review revised building elevations for the Dave and Buster's located at 15 Miracle Mile Drive in a commercial B1 district with a mixed-use redevelopment overlay district. So I think we're all familiar with Dave and Buster's over at the mall or former mall, whatever they're calling it now. And who is here representing the applicant, please?
It's me. Hi, I'm Mark O'Henley with RE Group Architects, the architect for the project.
I'm sorry, can we get your name again?
Sure, it's Mark.
Mark, thank you.
Yep.
Spell your last name?
Yeah, the print is small on the screen, so.
Yeah, O''H ENLEY.
Sorry.
Great.
I
Thank you,
wasn't
Mark.
doing that. Thank you.
Yep. So Dave and Buster's is proposing to basically update the paint scheme and signage on their existing building at the Marketplace Mall. bringing it up to current, programming requirements. This is more in line with their newer stores, and they're actually going back and updating all of the current stores they have to, remodel them and bring them more up to this color scheme.
Very good. Well, we had the renderings of the proposed branding change, well, not really branding change, but the new design. Now they look good. I'll open it up to the board for comments or concerns. Mr. Franek, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm happy to see a business that wants to remain in Marketplace Mall and continue to update. And I hope that your business is doing well. If this is something that's going to help continue to draw in customers for you, then it's definitely something I'm in favor of.
Very good. By the way, do you have any orthopedic rehab games in your facility there?
Not that I know
Okay, well, it might be something.
Really not a bad idea.
of.
The chair will recognize Mr. Liss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll echo Mrs. Safranek's opinion and her statement. And maybe that we draw some new customers from the new senior 55 and over house.
Apartments there, yeah. Very
Give
good.
them something positive to look at the mall. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I look forward to it.
Thank you. Mr. Borkowski.
And I will echo Mr. Liss's echo. I agree. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Echoing the echo.
Okay.
Really, very eloquently said, and I agree with that exactly. Is the inside getting also redone, did you say at the beginning?
Yes, the inside's also gonna be remodeled, and they're gonna be putting in some new entertainment options, like darts and shuffleboard, and so
Here we go, yeah.
yeah,
See?
like tabletop shuffleboard, not the over 55 version of shuffleboard.
Shoulders and the elbows, so we.
Pickleball.
So a little something more to bring in folks for the dining and the bar and the adult entertainment side of things?
Yeah, they're hoping it draws more groups, small parties for
Yeah.
those type of games.
It's a really cool venue. Anytime I've ever been there, I've absolutely loved it. So thank you. Kind of got the
Yeah.
Syracuse University vibe going on with the new college team.
Oh yeah, the plus.
Just get some soccer goal kicks for the knees and the hips. We'll be good. Yeah.
Shoulders.
Mr. Eckert, any comments, sir?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. No, I think the new color scheme looks great. I'll stand it out. I am, part owner, I think, at this point with the amount of money. So it's good to see it go to use and looks great. Thank
Very
you.
good. Mr. Martin, anything from engineering?
No, Mr. Chairman, I am all set.
Okay. Well, I have a note from Heather that I have to get a vote on this discussion item, so we'll just do a regular kind of an approval. All in favor of approving the revised elevation, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay. Mark, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, when do you think the redesign will all be completed?
I believe we have our permits. So now it's just a matter of lining it up with the contractor schedule. So I think this one is starting a little bit later this year, and then it takes a couple months for the updates. So I'd say maybe March of next year.
Is it going to be closed for a while? Or are you going to be working around?
They work around and keep the store open, yeah.
Going to be a re-grand opening?
I don't know if they do that or not. That's a good question.
That'd be great marketing to.
Yeah, it would be.
Hey, Mark, you understood the orthopedic joke, right?
I understand there's a I don't know the correct PC term for, but older living establishment nearby, or
As well as the entire mall pretty much was turned into an
oh,
orthopedic.
Yeah, the University of
Further.
Rochester moved their main ortho center out to the mall and redeveloped, at least 2/3 of it for right now. And so that's kind of the joke that, actually the town is happy to have it, but, that was the impetus of the orthopedic joke there. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Mark, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you guys. Bye.
All right. Mr. Martin, any comments about the next meeting or?
Well, I think we have a bright meeting for the next planning board meeting. We have
What?
two bright one. We have two solar projects coming in
Great.
Oh, joy.
that we know of. Tomorrow is the cutoff date, so we'll know a little bit more, but we know we have at least two solar projects. One's on Martin Road and the other one is on Brooks Road. And then yeah, that's all we know of at this point.
Car washes,
No cell towers.
storage facilities.
I know we're in a blight for those.
Looking at that property on Martin Road, it's so down low. It's just,
Yeah, but it's an area that's not actively farmed, so it's
how it said that it's very poor soil for him to farm. So
right. That's
I remember
correct.
him Specifically saying that about.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
7:12. Thank you, Mr. Borikowski.